Hello! Hello all you literature lovers out there. Welcome to a segment I like to call Read Between the Pages, where I will explicitly dissect a book that may be popular among society, but overall impacts the reading community as a whole. Today we're going to be talking about a book that basically founded the myth and legend that we're being watched through our telecommunication devices. And I say it, I'm talking about you guys. And that book is, and it really pains me to say this, 1984. As we look at 1984 today, we're going to be looking at four major things: the plot, the characters, the symbols, and the overall theme of the novel. So we're going to start off with, as we should, the plot. If you've never read 1984 or you've never finished it, I suggest you do so before watching this video because I'm about to spoil the heck out of it. If you honestly don't care about spoilers, then by all means keep watching this video, but for all of you out there, you have been warned. 1984 takes place in North America, but it is not as it seems. See, everyone within North America lives in this nation of Oceania. For all we know, North America is non-existent. Within Oceania, we meet our protagonist, Winston Smith. You may think that Winston is in a decent situation to live, but when you consider all the circumstances, that's not the case at all. The people of Oceania are living under oppression, and through that oppression comes the telescreens. Telescreens are devices that document all your actions and sounds, and the party sees everything. For those of you who are oblivious or don't know anything about the party, they control everything about Oceania, and they live under their leader, who is the all-omniscient and seemingly omnipotent Big Brother. Big Brother is the face of Oceania, and he drives the fear of being a good citizen into all who gaze upon him. The only description that we really get of Big Brother is that he has this brown mustache, but those details are really unworthy because in all actuality, he's always watching. Back to our protagonist, Winston is an unhappy man who lives in a run-down apartment complex called Victory Mansions. And at home he drinks the dissatisfying taste of Victory gin and coughs up the smoke of Victory cigarettes. These are examples of situational irony because we expect items with the word victory in it to be quite pleasant, but in all actuality, Winston is living in poverty, drinking stale alcohol, and smoking cancerous cigarettes. It's not a way to live whatsoever. Winston works at the Ministry of Truth, which is actually one of the four ministries overseeing Oceania. Ultimately, we learn that Winston was never for Big Brother's ways. He goes beyond this by writing "Down with Big Brother" in his secret diary. After discovering and discarding pieces of evidence that Oceania is not what it seems through memory holes, Winston receives a note from Julia, which is one of her cohorts that works at the Ministry of Truth. Winston reads the note and is surprised to see that it says a simple phrase: "I love you." Perplexed by this note, Winston actually follows through and starts a love affair with Julia. Okay, let's take into consideration that there are no physical relationships whatsoever in Oceania. So indirectly, Winston and Julia start their minor rebellion towards Big Brother in an attic that is above a shop founded by Mr. Charrington. Don't forget Mr. Charrington, he'll be important later. The room that Mr. Charrington provides for Winston and Julia has supposedly no telescreen whatsoever. It's a huge moment because up until now, the telescreens see and hear everything that the people do. From then on, Winston and Julia, the pair of rebels from the waist downwards, visit O'Brien, who is a prominent and important member to the party, but also reveals himself to be aligned with the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is supposedly the group that is rebelling towards Big Brother. He swears them in as members, making them take an oath to do horrible and ridiculous tasks in order to carry on the cause. If you still haven't read the book, I'm about to spoil a major part of the story. Are you ready? After continuing their love affair, Julia and Winston are found out by the Thought Police. The group that captures Winston and Julia is led none other by Mr. Charrington. Yes, the feeble old man that Winston put all his trust into eventually betrayed him. Flash forward some time and we see that Julia and Winston, now separated, are taken to the Ministry of Love. What's to happen there? Well, it's simple. Julia and Winston are going to be brainwashed to be perfect members of the party. Here's another spoiler. O'Brien reveals himself to be with the party this entire time, meaning his entire alignment to the Brotherhood was false. For the next few months, O'Brien tortures Winston into undoing all of his thoughts. Eventually, Winston gives up Julia, saying that all the torture that's happening to him, they should do to her. And that's exactly what O'Brien wanted. And what did he do afterward? They released him to the world. Flash forward even more and we see Winston sitting in a cafe playing chess. But at the very end, we see something different about Winston. He accepts the party's ways in all shape and form, and most of all, and I'm going to be quoting George Orwell here, he loved Big Brother. Now if you're like me after reading that part, you probably threw your book across the room. We'll address this problem in a bit, but right now we need to move on to our next section, which is all about the characters in 1984. Alright, first we have Winston Smith. Besides being our main protagonist, we associate Winston with heroic traits, seeing as how he's rebelling against the totalitarian rule of Big Brother. He hates Big Brother. He hates him to the point where he writes "Down with Big Brother" in his diary. He hates Big Brother to the point where he commits an illegal love affair. But what we do see in Winston is a real sense of hopelessness. He says in the novel that he's sure the thought police will get him. No matter what, he's going to be convicted of thought crime. Henceforth, this explains why he committed the acts he committed. But you're probably thinking, hold the phone. Wait, Winston, a hero? At the end of the novel, we see him loving Big Brother in the Chestnut Cafe, to which I say, yes, you're absolutely right. We do see Winston love Big Brother. But if you read a little bit before that, Winston reveals his one true dream now. Winston, sitting in a blissful dream, paid no attention as his glass was filled up. He was not running or cheering any longer. He was back in the ministry of love, with everything forgiven, his soul white as snow. He was in the public dock, confessing everything, implicating everybody. He was walking down the white tiled corridor with the feeling of walking in sunlight, and an armed guard at his back. The long hoped for bullet was entering his brain. Winston just basically wished for death. He wished to get away from Big Brother by being shot in the back of the head. Now, if this is true, if Winston truly is the perfect party member we associate him with, this dream contradicts his entire brainwashing, making us believe that there is still a rebellious fire burning inside of Winston. Now, I know my buddy Ryan is probably sitting there trying to create a doublethink response to contradict my own, to which I have to say, don't you even dare. Applied by many readers as probably the worst character in 1984, Julia seemed to have a prominent role in the novel. Julia was Juliet to Winston's Romeo. They were seemingly star-crossed lovers. They seemingly had the common cause, rebel against Big Brother no matter what. But when the dust settles and you set everything aside, what you end up with is actually pretty bland. Both Julia and Winston work in the same ministry, and they both work to rebel against Big Brother, but their ideas of rebellion gainsay each other. Winston wants to make a difference. He wants to cripple the rule of Big Brother, but Julia's just in it for the benefits. She wants the feeling of love. She wants the feeling of being in an actual relationship, and other details that I shall not go into. Ultimately, her role in the story can be summed up by Winston's famous one-liner. In fact, it's one of my favorite lines in the novel. "You are a rebel from the waist downwards." Being associated with Winston's famous dream, "We will meet in the place where there is no darkness," Winston put all his trust into O'Brien because he realized him to be an important part of his puzzle to solve the mysteries of the party. However it may be, O'Brien ends up playing two sides of the coin. He sympathizes with Winston when they're captured in the Ministry of Love, saying, "They got me a long time ago." But in the end, O'Brien's responsible for turning Winston into a perfect party member. He accepted the party's ways. He was never part of the Brotherhood in the first place, and worse yet, Winston's mysteries remain unsolved. Therefore, you have to really ask yourself a simple question: was O'Brien's heart in the right place? Now, those are the three main characters in 1984, but we can still go further with minor characters and how they play in Winston's storyline. How about Big Brother? Yes, I'm mentioning Big Brother in this. Big Brother plays a big part in Winston's development. He is the face of Oceania. Everywhere Winston goes, he sees Big Brother on telescreens, posters, propaganda. Big Brother is everywhere. And Big Brother is ultimately responsible for Winston's hatred and fascination towards the party. Or how about Simon Ampleforth? They both accepted the ways of the party, but in the end, their intelligence and rhyming skills killed the lives they had. So that basically sums up 1984's character, minor and major. But now we have to move on to an important part in literacy, and that is symbolism. Now we move on to symbolism. First, we start with one of the major characters, Big Brother. Besides being the face of the party, Big Brother represents a form of assurance towards the public. This is gonna sound extremely weird, but just trust me, go with it. His worn name is supposed to symbolize that Oceania will never be harmed, lest its citizens be vanquished. Maybe he's not the stone-faced despot whose eyes are trying to burn through our soul, right? Right. Please tell me you believe me. And then we move on to two prominently important symbols, the paperweight and Saint Clement's. They both represent the past in a nutshell. I'm not going to go into specifics, but they ideally have a message to convey. Then in all actuality, the past cannot be eradicated through the simplest and complex of means. Ah yes, the place where there is no darkness. Important? Yes. In the end, is it how Winston imagined it? No, not at all. Ideally, Winston thought he and O'Brien would meet in paradise. He thought the place where there is no darkness would be paradise. But reality strikes Winston hard when the place where there is no darkness is ironically his jail cell. The place where there is no darkness is supposed to symbolize Winston's approach to the future. First, the telescreens. If you guys are scared to use your telephones or tablets, I do not blame you whatsoever. The telescreens show how totalitarian forms of government can abuse technology for its own self-interests instead of the good of its civilization. And then finally, we have the ever-ironic Red Pearl Woman. Beauty. That's all you need to know about the Red Armed Pearl Woman. And now we get into the last part of our dissection of 1984, and that is themes. Next, we're going to look at technology. Orwell basically describes how the evilest of people can use the purest of technology for their own sociopathic and diabolical purposes. Technology is supposed to help us, make life easier, make us more advanced. But in this case, in 1984, technology is against us. I mean, I didn't believe for a second when O'Brien turned off his telescreen that nothing bad would actually happen, considering he's actually a part of the party. Even with the talk about us being watched through our technology in today's time, we shouldn't really let technology manipulate us. Speaking of the topic of manipulation, that is our third theme. Orwell also conveyed that the party manipulates its users through physical and mental experiments. They're designed to lead those convicted of thought crime to a better way, to becoming a perfect party member. Through physical torture, O'Brien can make the complex-minded believe 2 + 2 = 5. Through mental torture, O'Brien can use your greatest fear into confessing your heart. And the sad nature of it all is that it happened in the past, it's happening in the present, and it's going to happen in the future. Most people can look at this book to be a warning of the dangers society possess. But it really just depends on how you look at it. Alright guys, so, 1984. Did I like this book? No. No. My favorite part in 1984 would probably have to be Mr. Charrington's reveal to be with the Thought Police. I mean, I loved his character development, and I love how he just revealed himself when Winston was on the floor and Julia was just being dragged away. It's just one of those, oh my gosh, that just actually happened moments. My least favorite part in the book. I'm pretty much speaking for everybody here, and it's the book within a book scene. For those of you who don't know, and I don't believe I touched on this at all in this segment, but when Winston and Julia are sworn into the Brotherhood, O'Brien said that Winston shall get a book and he shall have it for 14 days, and it's just called The Book. It's mainly about theories and traces of social classes from the past, and believe me, there is literally an entire chapter devoted to this, and it's basically a textbook within a literature book. It's basically 30 pages of ramble and other boring words. It actually put Julia to sleep, and to be honest, it would put me to sleep too. Alright, just in case you still don't understand what I'm talking about, I just read a book inside of a book. You're about to watch a video inside of a video. Observe. Honestly, if this put Julia to sleep, this would put you to sleep too. So ultimately, guys, I am super happy to be done reading 1984, but we have to look at the 4 things we use to dissect the novel. Plot, character development, symbolism, and themes. But I think it's safe to say that character development is the most important thing in 1980. Okay, hold on, pal. You're saying character development is more important than plot? You are sadly mistaken. Since when does plot have any importance? Since always, plot sets the basis for everything. Your fictional characters are confined within the pages. At least he has his facts straight, unlike you. I beg your pardon. For your information, the novel took place in London, not North America, ya Nimrod. So I made a mistake. You haven't? At least I didn't make mine on camera. Guys, can't we just accept that all 4 things have equal importance in the book? Shut up, theme! Alright, guys. Besides the point, listen to the guy wearing a polyester blue tank top. Since I have a sense of style, you should trust me. You style? This is a pink vintage fit American Eagle shirt. Look at that hoodie. Where are you going next, American Express? Guys, just cut the crap. Symbolism is important in literature, and at least it's more important than plot. Agreed. Agreed. Shut up, theme. Characters create relatability between people in real life. Plot just goes from the front cover to the back cover. But symbol travels outside the pages. And so does theme. Oh my gosh. Shut up, theme. Whatever. You guys say you know literacy. You guys know nothing. Hey, at least teachers talk about me in school. They just brush you in the corner. Gee, now there's a plot twist. And you wonder why people hate you. And when has anyone ever hated the plot of a book? 1984. Catcher in the Rye. Twilight. Allegiant. Casual Vacancy. The Tommyknockers. Mockingjay. Hocus Pocus. The Yiddish Policeman's Union. You guys are all horrible. I hate you. Alright guys, I guess it's up to you to decide which of the 4 things we covered is more important. Character development, plot, theme, or symbolism. You guys are gonna have to decide. Because it looks like we cannot come up with a decisive conclusion. Character development, well guys, I hope this made you understand 1984 a little more clearly. I still don't understand a whole lot, and I doubt I ever will, but just remember, war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. Catch you guys later.